Okay, so now it's time to put the read file and the write file together and actually have a reasonably interesting issue. So what I've got here is I have, this is a set of all the fabulous students in this class, right? And what I decided to try and simulate is this problem. Imagine you've got one class with one set of students and then another class with another set of students. Now, right there, you can see that class one has got these students, from Caden down to Charles, actually Richard. It also has from David down to Lydia, right? Similar with class two, but class two continues on right down to Kalia. All right. So imagine that you've got two classes and you want to basically answer questions like who is the common students in both? How many students are there in both of them? Who's in class two that's not in class one? And so on. Those are basic set questions, and we kind of covered a little bit of that a few videos ago. But now imagine you want to do this in Python. You want to actually read these files, read them, and process them. It's actually a pretty easy program once you get into it. So let's start with basically just reading and making class one into a set. Let's do that. So first of all, the first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and grab the import. So I'm going to copy that again, and I'm going to throw it into here. Here's my import. We're going to go and actually let's do the read poem here. That's got ourselves the path that we need. There's that path right there. Copy and paste. And so we now got our path. Okay, that didn't work for some reason. So let's go again. Tell you what, you want to be smart like that. We're going to go Control C for copy and Control V for paste. All right, so we've got those two. Now I want to read class one in. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's make ourselves an input file handle. Oh, sorry, input file handle. And this is going to be opening up the file class1.txt. Okay, how do I know it's a .txt? By the way, it says text document here, but also if you right click and check on the properties, you'll see right there txt. And if you did know your DOS or whatever operating system, you could check it out that way. But anyway, so that's it. That's my open. Whenever you open, make sure that you also close, right? So that you don't end up leaving anything open, and then all the good stuff is right in the middle. Now, what we want to do with this is we want to basically do that read a line, go into the loop, process, and then come out. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to go input file handle, sorry, not input file handle, the string line. So the line, the first line, we could read the whole thing in, but let's just do this one row at a time. This guy is equal to the input file handle dot read line. All right. And then we're going to say while the input file handle dot read line. No, so what am I doing? While string line is not nothing. So if it's not the end of file, and by the way, you know what? Communicate that to future people so they know what's going on. This is end of file, or EOF, as is typically said. So while this is not the end of line, then we're going to do some processing. Right now, I'm just going to print it. So I'm going to go print string, and then read the next lin. So this would be kind of a good beginning here. All right. So let's run this guy. I'm going to go run it. It's going to say save it. I'm going to save it. And of course, it wants to save it here. I don't want it to save there. I want it to save over here and here in the demo section. And this is going to be, I don't know, process class. All right. So we run it. And of course, appearing on my other monitor, but right there, there is the result of it processing class one. Awesome. Again, we've got some empty spaces. We remember what we did last time for that is we ended up stripping off the new line. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually, just before it prints it, I'm going to go Stewart line dot, oh sorry, is assigned Stewart line dot strip off the new line character. We go run again, and now it blew up because Stewart line is not defined, and it's not defined because that's what it is. So we go run, go, and so now everyone is awesome. Great. Now, how do, instead of printing this, we got a couple other issues too, by the way. We got some fancy Unicode characters that slipped in, but we'll fix that later. So for now, let's just leave it. I want to make these into a set. Now, I bet you there's probably cooler ways to do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list, and then I'm just going to append each of these guys to the list. That's what I'm going to do. So right at the time that I'm initializing this, I'm going to go list class 1 is an empty list. Then as we go through, roundabout now is when I think I'm doing pretty good. So I'm going to go list class 1 dot append Sterling. All right, and then just before it closes, let's do a print here. Let's print list class 1. Let's see what happens there. So we go run, and there's our list. Looking pretty good so far. That fancy little goofy A has now become one of these things. This is actually a thing, but you know what? For now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a brute force and ignorance way of getting rid of that. So I tell you what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go copy, and here I'm doing the stripping thing. I'm also going to go Sterling is assigned Sterling dot replace that with nothing. I'm thinking that might clean it up a little bit. If this was real life, oh, it didn't. Oh, you know, I didn't because it's actually that. That's why I didn't. Huh. Isn't that interesting? So what are you? No, yeah, see, look at that. You each are indicating, it's actually, we have dirty data. Welcome to dirty data. So what's going on here is that, notice when it comes to Liban here, it ends with the N. Anthony ends in the Y. Vanessa ends in this goofy thing and a space, and that space is being translated to hexadecimal, not hexadecimal, Unicode maybe, I'm not sure, and then whatever that is. It's bad. That's what that is. It's bad. So one thing I could do is I suppose I could fix the data, or I could make the program more robust. But you know what? Let's fix the data. Let's find Vanessa. So here's Vanessa. See, look at that. But Vanessa has got some stuff there. Lydia has got some stuff there. If I fix the data, and I'll try and put this data, by the way, out in the content section so you can try this yourself. All right, so it looks good. Awesome, great. You know what, while I'm at it, let's just test class 2 to see if there's any garbage sitting in class 2. And there definitely is. There is some garbage on Vanessa again, Lydia, Nancy, and me. So let's go fix those guys up while I'm sitting here, and we can probably just find them by click, 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 click. There's Vanessa with the garbage, Lydia with the garbage, Nancy with the garbage, Graham with the garbage. Nobody else has got garbage. Save and run. And all I'm doing at this point is just making sure I have clean data. All right, so there's a nice list of what class 2 is. Cool. So the next thing we want to do, though, is we probably want to think about making this list into a set, because we're going to do set operators for this. That makes the most amount of sense. We're going to do set operators for this. So maybe when we're finished at this point, when we've got a list, this might be a good time to do a set. So I'm going to go set class 1 is assigned set list class 1. All right, and so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to I've got my set, copy, I'm going to go paste, and I'm going to go print the set class 1. All right, I'm doing this nice and incrementally to see what's going to happen here. And there is my list. And you can tell from this character, there is my set. Pretty cool. Now, I'm going to have to do this for class 1 and class 2. It kind of seems to me to be a reasonable thing to maybe make this into a module, make this actually into a function that I could call. And all I got to do is pass in maybe the name of the file and have it pass back out a set. That would be pretty cool. Why don't we do that? So I'm going to make myself, in fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go and define myself a function, which I'm going to call convert file to set. And what is it going to take? It's going to take a string. I'm going to name it exactly the same as this. No, actually, am I going to name it that? No, I'm not going to name it that. I'm just going to name it the input file. I'm going to name it input. That's what I'm going to do. Colon. Now that becomes a function. So what I want to do now is move everything that is going to happen inside of that function in there with the indent. Cool beans. And then this guy doesn't open class 2. You know what I'm going to do? Let me just comment that out for a second and save it. I'm going to go copy. And it's going to be, instead of class 2, it's going to be taking IP. IP is going to be fed in there. All right, cool. And then instead of just a print, we're going to go in here and say return set class. That's what it's on, or rerun, as we just did there, return. Oh my goodness, Grant. I'm currently digesting a Panchero's burrito, so I'm going to be making lots of mistakes. Anyway, so there is that. Now, a couple of things I'm also going to do here. I've got this constant reference to class 1, class 1, class 1, class 1. This isn't it. This is it's input. Input's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on down, and there's the input file handle, blah, blah, blah. So list class. So it's actually going to be list IP. Sure. Not super happy with it, but I'm going to do that. List underscore IP. That'll make all Python programmers cringe right there. But list IP. So now we're going to go list IP is the thing that I'm going to append. Good deal. I don't really need this print statement anymore. I'm confident that's working, so I'm going to get rid of that right now with that. Okay. And then it's going to be print. It's going to convert that to a set. This becomes set underscore IP. And then that set is what I'm going to print. And then I'm going to go and return it. Now, as you know, because you're all Python professionals now, if I run this thing, we're actually not going to see any real output, because all it did is it defined convert file to set. I can run it here, though, interestingly enough, by going X is assigned convert file to set and pass in class 1 dot txt. I could do that. And if I hit the enter button, look at what I just did. Now, by the way, it printed stuff because there's print statements in here. But what is actually currently in X? Well, what is X? X is a set. And if I go X, X managed to get the set out of it. So what I did here in my program, I taught the environment how to basically convert a file to a set. Basically, it was going to take a string, like you just did there. It's going to take a string, and assuming it finds it, it will then read all that content. Each line becomes an entry in the set. What happens if the file's not there? Well, we're going to see that. Let's do that right now. Let's go X is assigned this guy, and let's go class 3.txt. There isn't a class 3.txt, so you know what's going to happen? It's going to blow up, and this is where we're going to do error processing next, but not yet. So right now, we're going to have to deal with perfect world coding. All right, so this is kind of cool. I got myself a nice little right there. So What I want to do now is I want to kind of start figuring out, I want to have basically two sets. I want to see what the total is, what the, who's in one and who's not in the other, and so on. I'm eventually going to want to write those out. So you know what I'm probably going to want to do? I'm going to want to start thinking about how am I going to write out the contents of that set. So let's do that. Let's go def, and I'm going to go write file, okay, or even write set to file. There you go, write set to file. That's a nice explanation. And what it's going to do is it's going to take in an input set. Let's do that. And also the name of an output file, because I want to control the name of that file that comes out. So what is this going to do? Well, the output file handle, right, I just made that up, is equal to open underscore whatever the person passed in and write. Okay. When I went up here with the open, by the way, I took the default. But because I'm a beginner programmer, I would want to make sure I explicitly state read so that future people know what's going on there. So, because not everyone's going to know necessarily that by default when you open it reads. So here I'm going to basically say read, here I'm going to say write. And remember what Uncle Grant says about this? As soon as you open, close so that you don't forget and leave your file open. Nobody likes it when you're left your file open. All right, so we got this guy. He's open, he's closed. You know what? Let's do a giggle. Let's do a quick test here. Run, go, and it ran just great. Let's test out our set here. Do we still have that set sitting out here? No, we don't have that set. Okay, so let's just grab this set. Let's go copy and paste. So now X is a set in memory. By the way, let's take out some of these useless print statements now too. Let's clean that up a little bit. There we go. All right. So X is now a set. If I go X, it's a set. I now want to test out this write set to file thing, which doesn't actually return anything. Notice it's just basically solid action here. I'm going to go write set to file. I'm going to pass in the set, which was X. I'm going to pass in a file, which I'm going to call experiment.txt. Now, I'm just about to hit enter, but before I do, let's move this thing over. And again, you have the wonders of the internet and watching videos on it to see what happens here. If I hit enter, I'm hoping it's going to pop up right here. Boom, there it is, right? And what did it do? It just opened a file and put nothing in it and then closed it. Perfect. Okay, good deal. Let's delete that now. We don't, that's just garbage sitting in an already crowded directory. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to basically write that file. I want to write that file. Well, we learned this in the last video, right? I want to write that file. How do you write that file? Well, what you could do is you could go for entry, I guess. Entry is in the input set, right? And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go print. I'm just going to print at this point, print entry so that we see what we're getting, okay? So we're going to go print entry. Let's go ahead and run that. Again, this is just going to straight compile it. Let's go ahead and grab a set, copy and paste, and let's go ahead and now print that set. Remember, the file itself is still going to be empty, but what we should see is the entry, every one of these guys printed out on the screen. That's what we should see. And there we are seeing that. So that's awesome. Okay, good deal. So now what I want to do is I'm going to say, okay, we've got that thing, print entry. Instead of print, I'd like it to write it. I'd like it to write to the file. So we're not going to print the entry. We're going to go into the output file handle, write, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the entry. Now this is going to be more interesting. Whatever information I feed into that is going to become written into the file. So let's go run, go, and go. It's going to define the two members. Let's go ahead and grab that set. Bang. Let's go ahead and print that set by using this function, which doesn't return anything. Looks like nothing happened, but exp.txt showed up. And if I do this, here's my file. But look what's happened. The entries did certainly come out, but what's going on now is that, and don't worry too much about the order of the entries, but what's going on now is that Duff Charles is immediately followed by Haas David, who's immediately followed by Miles Bolnick. All right, so that's bad. We don't want that. We need to have a carriage return show up. When we did the print, it just naturally happened because print wants to put a carriage return at the end. Carriage return, by the way, oh my goodness, I took typing in grade 10, and that was what you called it when you went type, 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 type. You hit the line and you return that was a carriage return. That same English made it into IT for a new line. You know, when I die, all that knowledge will be lost with me. But anyway, so we want to add a new line at the end of this. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to go and add a new line. And again, it's not so much add. In this case, the operator is the concatenate. So let's run it again. Okay, first of all, let's dismiss you. Run it again, which is just going to define the two functions. I've just defined them. Let's go ahead and populate my set as an experiment. Let's go ahead and do the write. I say experiment, by the way, but a professional way to say that is unit testing. I'm unit testing each one of these functions for now. I'm unit testing this guy, which I know works. I'm unit testing now write set to file. So if I go EXP and I have a look at what's in here, now I've got a pretty decent way to write a set. Darn exciting. All right, let's trim this up a little bit. I don't think I have any weird print statements anymore. I think we're good. So let's bring you up. So now how would I use this? Well, now at this point, honestly, I could do another function, or I could just jump straight into a main function. So I'm going to go def main. And at this point, what I'm going to say is I'm going to say, hey, could you make the first set here? Let's go, sure. Let's, instead of X, like I've been doing already, let's dismiss you. It's this line I'm interested in now, right? So I'm going to basically grab in the main the first set, except I'm going to call it set class 1. Okay, and we're going to go and hit the enter. We're going to go set class 2 is assigned that. Okay, so now we got class 1, class 2. So it's going to go out in here. By the way, this import, you know what? This information is used by both this function and this function, so I think it's okay if I leave it outside. I was tempted to move it inside one of these, but I don't think I'm going to. Otherwise, I think I'd have to repeat it. I don't really want to do that. All right, so now I got my two sets. I got my two sets. Those are going to make it into the main. So I tell you what, you know what we need to do? We need to relearn a little bit here. So let's, I think, is X still here? X, are you still out there? Okay, good deal. Let's get Y and let's learn. Let's get Y. Let's get the letter Y set. Let's do that. So here's Y. And Y is going to be class 2. And I just want to show you, remind you a little bit here about how these set functions work. Okay, so I've got X as a set. Jeez Louise, I got X as a set. I got Y as a set. Those are the two sets. Now, feel free either go to W3 Schools and look at the set functions union. So, you know, I would go like W3 Schools, Python, set. Yeah, sets methods. That's what these are. I would look for set methods. You could review that video as well. But I'll tell you, if I want to see what both of these sets are together, I could go Z is, actually, I'll tell you what, let's use this properly. X union Y could be the assignment of X dot union Y. So now if I say, well, what's X dot X union Y? That is everybody. It's hard to figure that out right away. So let's just go, what is the length of X? What is the length of Y? What is the length of X union Y? It's not going to be the sum, by the way, because remember, there's some duplicates in both. right? So union suppresses the duplicates. But that should give us an indicator anyway that this is sort of, we hope, is the combination of one over the other. It would have been better had it actually given that to me in order so I could demonstrate that a little bit, but maybe actually, maybe it's not too bad. Garden to no. I can't, or I'm too lazy to figure it out. Oh, you know what we'll do though? Let's write it out. That's what we'll do. We'll write it out. So I'm going to go right set to file X union Y, and it got mad at me. Oh, because I didn't say the name of the file. So let's go copy, paste, comma, xuy.txt, so it sticks out like a sore thumb. All right, so there it is right there, xuy. There's our set. Now, yeah, I wish it gave it to me in an order that I could digest, because I don't think it is. No, it's not. It's not. Remember, sets don't have a particular order, so what I could have done is I could convert to a list and then basically print out the lists in the order. But let's just imagine, though, if we got class 1, so that's a set. So class 1 should have Caden in it, does, should have Tamba in it. It does, yeah. This is just going to be too hard on my poor little burrito digesting brain to figure out. But it's definitely got, it's got these people in it and more. And if I was to open up class 2, we'd start to see these people in it and more. Yeah. Pause the video and check for yourself if you want. All right. You don't have to trust me. I don't have to know what I'm doing. So anyway, right there was sort of an example of how we're going to union these two together. So what I'm going to do is, I don't need to. I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to go and define myself a set as class 1 union with class 2. Another way to have done it would have been probably total class. But anyway, this is equal to set class or sign class 1 union with set class 2. All right, so that guy, that's what he's going to do. Now we got the differences, right? We got the differences. What happens if you take one and subtract another? So we're trying to find who are the students that are unique to class 1. This one here, I still have these sets out here. So if I basically went, X, well, it's a difference. So dy is assigned X dot difference Y. Okay, so what is X dy? This might be a little bit easier. These guys are in class 1 and they are not in class 2. So if you remember when I did my little experiment here, right about there, we're expecting to basically see these guys, Richard, Charles, Anissa, Miles, Anthony, Tamba, and Caden. So we are going to see Anthony, Charles, Tamba, Caden, Anissa, Miles, and Richard. Pretty good. That was good. That worked. All right, so we got ourselves a nice difference. So let's go copy, paste, and this is going to be called not XDY, but set class 1 D class. Okay, that was nice. D class 2, and that's going to be class 1 difference with class 2. And we're going to do exactly the opposite with the other one. So we're going to go here, and this is going to be basically class 2 subtract class 1. So set class 2 subtract set class 1. So that's 2 sets there. And then the last thing was who is in both? Not the combination, but actually what are the students that are in both? And that's an intersect. So if I go set class 1 intersect with class 2 is assigned set class 1 dot intersection with set class 2. Now this is an awesome time just to run it. And remember, this by itself won't run at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and say, hey, can you please run the main? So let's go run, go. And it looks like nothing's happened, but I bet you this variable is sitting in memory right now. Or not. Oh, it's in the main. It's not in memory, it's in main. And I don't think it works if I go main dot. But let's just try it out. No, I didn't think that was going to work either. Okay, so remember, as I've shunted everything into the main, I did that on purpose so that I've freed up my global memory a little bit. It's a good practice, but in this case, it's not that great when I'm trying to demonstrate building the program. So how are we going to preserve this information forever? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to write them. That's what we're going to do. We're going to write them now. So I've just done my processing. So now I'm going to want to do basically several write statements. I'm going to write not the input set. I'm going to write this. And I'm going to go and do this. All right. And I see that I got an extra parentheses kicking around there. Okay, cool. So I like that so much. I'm going to go copy. I'm going to do that 3 more times. Paste, paste, paste. And then this guy is going to be the difference one. So I'm going to go copy, write the difference one. I'm going to go write the other difference one. Write the intersection one. Okay. And so now when I run it, it ran just great. And now I've got these new files just sitting there waiting to be looked at. So let's look at the union of them all. So there's the union of them all. Let's look at the class. Yeah, class 1. And so what are the ones that are in common? These are the people that are in common. And then I'm just going to do class 1 minus class 2. So pretty cool processing going on there. And obviously, in this particular example, I could have gone ahead and had a function in here called process set analysis, where I basically pass in 2 sets and it passes back 4 sets or something like that. I could have done that. But in this case, I just wanted this file is basically, no, that's wrong too. That should be PR. Something's wrong there. Should be PRO sets. But anyway, but the point is that I could have, I could have moved this processing into its own function. But this is basically a workaround for this. So I'm cool. I'm cool with it, right? So there basically is kind of a nice sort of synopsis of where we are right now with file processing, with sets, with how to write a file, how to read a file, some of the common traps that you get when you're trying to read a file, like stripping off the new line, stripping off any goofy characters that might have come in because you got dirty data. Over here, we've got the idea of when you're writing stuff out to maybe put a new line at the end. So yeah, this is pretty good. All right, so I think we're good now to stop with file processing.